Why do you care at all? Let me ask you something real quick. How much useless stuff is living rent free in your head right now? Deadlines no one will care about next week. People you don't even like. That awkward thing you said 3 years ago. The number of likes on your last post. It's like your brain is a messy storage room and you keep adding more boxes for no reason. Here's the crazy part. Most of your stress doesn't come from real life. It comes from the version of reality your mind keeps replaying on loop. Centuries ago, a philosopher figured this out without Wi Fi, without notifications, without social media. His conclusion was brutal and simple. We suffer more in our thoughts than in the world itself. And honestly, that still hits hard today. Think about it. Someone doesn't reply to your message, and suddenly your brain goes, I said something wrong. I'm not interesting, or I messed everything up. Your boss doesn't compliment your work, and now it's, I'm bad at my job. I'll never grow. I'm failing at life. Most of the time, none of this is actually about you, but your ego takes every small detail and turns it into a full Netflix drama. We act like everything is personal. It's not. Caring too much about everything is just another way of making everything about yourself. You think people are judging you all the time? They are not. They are busy judging themselves. You think everyone will remember your mistake, maybe for 5 minutes. Then they go right back to worrying about their own problems, their own bills, their own insecurities. Now let's talk about the ultimate anxiety playground, social media. You post something, then you check and check again. You analyze who liked it, who didn't, who liked someone else's post but ignored yours, and without even noticing, your mood, your confidence, your self worth all get tied to tiny digital reactions. That's not connection, that's emotional self sabotage. So here's a mindset shift that actually changes things. Start treating your mind like a nightclub door. Not every thought gets in. If an idea isn't useful, if it's not true, if it's not necessary, it doesn't enter. That's not being cold. That's mental hygiene. Instead of obsessing over random opinions, what if you focused on what you actually think about yourself? Instead of reacting to every noise outside, what if you gave more attention to what you were trying to build? Yeah, some people might think you are different. Good. Most people are living on autopilot anyway. At the end of the day, it's a simple equation. The more emotional junk you carry, the less space you have to feel free. And freedom doesn't start by changing the world. It starts by choosing what deserves space inside your mind. Stay calm while the world is falling apart. Picture this. The world is losing its mind. People fighting in group chats, tension at work, family drama, couple arguments, everyone emotionally on fire. And there you are, holding a cup of coffee, watching it all without getting burned. Not because you don't care, but because you learned when not care. Just because the circus is on fire doesn't mean you have to jump in as a clown. One of the biggest traps today is the feeling that you must have an opinion on everything, that you must react to everything, fix everything, argue everything. You don't. You don't need to win every debate. You don't need to save everyone. You don't need to be part of every emotional disaster happening around you. Most chaos didn't even ask for your help. There is real power in selective involvement. Centuries ago, while the world was drowning in war, disease, political madness, and fear, one guy locked himself away just to think, not to escape reality, but just to understand it without losing his mind. And that mindset still works today. Here's a modern example. You are in a meeting. Someone starts throwing passive aggressive comments, poison in a polite voice. Your instinct? Fight back. Defend yourself. Prove your point. But sometimes the strongest move is to observe. People who live for conflict need an audience. If you don't sit in the front row, the show slowly dies. That's not weakness, that's strategy. The truth is simple. The world will always be in crisis. If it's not a pandemic, it's money. If it's not money, it's relationships. If it's not relationships, it's purpose. If you let every wave pull you under, you will live forever in emergency mode. And that burns people out faster than anything. Taking everything seriously all the time is one of the fastest ways to lose your balance. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is step back, stay quiet, and let the social gladiators fight in the arena without you. So next time the world is on fire, pause and ask yourself, does this really need my action? Or is it just noise trying to steal my peace? Because staying calm in a hysterical world isn't weakness, it's a superpower. Existential crisis is proof that you are alive. So you are questioning everything: your career, your choices, your future, your happiness, the meaning of all this. Let me tell you something you probably didn't expect to hear. Congratulations, you are alive. If you've never had an existential crisis, either you are a robot or you are so distracted that you forgot what being human feels like. Doubt is not weakness. Confusion is not failure. Feeling lost is not a defect. It's proof that you woke up from autopilot. Only people who slow down enough look into the unknown and say, okay, what the hell is this life about? Of course, society hates that moment. When you start questioning, the world rushes in with solutions. Here, take this productivity system, read this successful book, repeat this positive affirmation, fix yourself, hurry. But real growth doesn't come from running away from discomfort. It comes from sitting inside it. Look at how obsessed people are with purpose today. Everyone wants meaning, everyone wants direction, or wants to feel special. But almost no one wants to walk through the emptiness that comes before clarity. Everyone wants a life GPS, but nobody wants to accept that sometimes there is no route, and that's okay. An existential crisis is basically your internal system saying, this version of you is outdated, it's time to update. The problem is, instead of listening, we run for noise. More content, more work, more dopamine, more distraction, but distraction doesn't fix leaks. It just hides the water for a while. Sooner or later, it floods. Here's another truth people don't like to hear. Here's another truth people don't like to hear. You are not going to walk out of a crisis as a peaceful, enlightened guru. Crises are messy. They are ugly. They are uncomfortable. You won't find instant peace. You will find parts of yourself you've been avoiding for years, and then you'll have to decide what to do with them. Real life isn't about showing only your best angles. It's about learning to live with your contradictions, your fears, your shadows. And you know what happens when you stop fighting the crisis and start learning from it? You grow. Not through sugar coated self help, not through 30-second motivational videos, not through magic formulas. You grow because you realize you're not alone. Everyone carries the same invisible hole inside. Some just hide it better. And sometimes all you can really do is laugh at your own tragedy, drink your coffee, and keep moving forward. So let's be clear. An existential crisis is not a sign that you are broken. It's a sign that you are conscious, that you are present, that you are alive. Next time it shows up, instead of running for distraction, pull up a chair, look into the void, and say, alright, sit down, let's talk. The invisible prison of other people's opinions. You've heard this advice 1,000 times. Sounds great, feels impossible. It's easy to repeat it like a quote. It's hard to live it when you are afraid to post a photo without a filter, when it's hard to say no, when you feel guilty for liking something that doesn't match your image. If old philosophers had social media, they would probably have 3 followers and 0 posts. Not because they were antisocial, but because they were too busy being honest with themselves instead of performing for approval. They talked openly about their fears, flaws, doubts, without trying to look impressive, because they understood something brutal. The moment you live to impress others, you stop living for real. Look at your own life for a second. How many of your decisions were based on what you truly wanted? And how many were made just to not disappoint someone, not be judged, not look like a failure? That degree you choose for the status, that relationship you stayed in because it looked right, that job you hate but keep it because quitting would look bad. That's not maturity, that's a decorated prison. Other people's opinions are like cheap perfume. Stay around it long enough, and you start thinking the smell is yours. Trying to please everyone is a guaranteed investment in frustration. No matter what you do, someone will dislike it. And here's the most freeing part: that's not your problem. But I can't just ignore what people think. Of course you can't. You were trained since childhood to chase approval like oxygen. Teachers, classmates, parents, social media. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't disappoint. Don't look wrong. The result? An adult full of social anxiety, trying to look confident while slowly burning inside. Real freedom starts differently. It starts when you actually get to know yourself and accept everything that comes with it: the contradictions, the fears, the awkward parts, the shame. When you do that, something strange happens. You stop begging for applause. And when you stop begging for approval, your choices become more authentic and, ironically, more respected. So here's the real question: are you living your life or performing a character for approval points? If you want out of that prison, the first step is opening the cell door. The second is realizing that other people's eyes are not your mirror. And the third, well, that's when life actually begins. Death is guaranteed. Let's skip the drama and be honest for a second. You are going to die. I'm going to die. Everyone you know is going to die. That's not dark. That's just the most fair and reliable rule of existence. The strange part is how hard people work to pretend that this isn't true, as if death were a rumor, a system bug that will be fixed with diet, meditation, cold showers, or lemon water. It won't. Some thinkers were obsessed with death, not in a morbid way, but as a reminder that time is limited, that life leaks through your fingers, and that pretending you were in control of everything is humanity's favorite bad joke. Here's where things get interesting. The moment you accept that death is inevitable, everything else becomes a bonus. And bonuses don't need to be perfect, they just need to be lived. Most people walk around with an invisible checklist of what needs to happen for life to be worth it: career success, perfect relationship, healthy body, money, purpose, happiness. As if life were an app constantly sending notifications saying, "You are late to becoming fulfilled." But think about it: if everyone ends up in the same place, quiet, still, and eventually forgotten, why all the desperation? Why destroy yourself for a job you hate? Why stay in relationships that feel more like emotional spreadsheets than partnerships? Why spend more time proving you're happy than actually feeling it? Remembering death puts things in perspective. What felt urgent becomes noise. What felt non negotiable becomes a joke. You realize you are allowed to say no, to change your mind, to start over, to fail badly, and still be winning because you are alive. Some say philosophy is learning how to die. I would say it's learning how to live while knowing you will. And that awareness does something powerful. You waste less time with people who drain you. You care less about random opinions. You take more risks. You laugh more. And maybe, just maybe, you start living more honestly. Because when time becomes a scarce currency, you stop investing in nonsense. So, if life feels out of control right now, good. That's the only universal truth. Everything is unstable, temporary, uncertain. Only death is guaranteed. And if that scares you, breathe. The point isn't to live in fear, it's to live with urgency, with presence, with intention. The clock is running, and death never runs late. Being yourself is the rarest luxury. Being yourself today is almost a rebellious act. Not loud, not dramatic, just uncomfortable. In a world where everyone is trying to be someone, the influencer, the entrepreneur, the enlightened thinker, the perfectly branded human, showing up as just you, unfinished, imperfect, unpolished, feels almost offensive. Centuries ago, one guy decided to say out loud, I'm inconsistent, I'm flawed, I'm afraid sometimes. Instead of selling wisdom, he opened his inner notebook and wrote about fear, insecurity, embarrassment, even things most people would hide today behind motivational quotes and curated stories. And here's the crazy part. Being that honest, being that honest back then could actually get you punished. You, on the other hand, have freedom, access, platforms, and still feel pressure to fit into a mold designed for people who aren't really paying attention anyway. Look around. Everyone is copying the same tone, the same personality traits, the same opinions. Suddenly, everyone is deep but ironic, creative but productive, spiritual but sarcastic, different in exactly the same way. It's all rehearsal pretending to be spontaneity. So here's the real question. Are you living or are you performing? Being yourself doesn't require bravery in a heroic sense. It requires a quieter kind of courage. The courage to disappoint expectations, to change your mind without apologizing publicly, to fail without turning it into content, to be inconsistent in a polarized world. Changing your opinion is seen as weakness, but thinking, doubting, testing ideas, that's how intelligence actually works. You are not a finished product, you are a process. And here's the irony most people miss. The harder you try to fit in, the more forgettable you become. The world has already seen the genetic versions, the templates, the copies. What it hasn't seen enough of is someone real, with awkward laughter, strange tastes, contradictions, unpolished thoughts. That's what's missing. So next time you feel the urge to copy someone's style, someone's voice, someone's life, remember this. People who live by imitation fade as replicas, but those who dare to live honestly leave a trace. So ask yourself, when all this noise is gone, will you be remembered for a clean feed or for the courage to be who you actually were?